Hello everyone. As a long retrospective, I wanted to give to Elden Ring and Nightreign extensively. This will be it. So let me go ahead. I'm also gonna showcase some of the characters that I have been showcasing in, for example, other videos for Elden Ring as well. I did more Nightreign videos than Elden Ring videos though, but in terms of for Elden Ring, I would have done the console Radon round. That's the pre-nerf console Radon. Um, and I showcased a lot of clips of me using my characters in that. So, but I also want to showcase how um, and give some of my thoughts for some of the characters that I've done. So, uh, for Dark Souls 3 and for Elden Ring, I actually maxed out all of the slots. It's 10 slots you get for both those games. If I go to new game, for example, it's gonna say I can't. It's gonna say cannot create any more profiles. If it doesn't system profile, you can only create up to 10 profiles. So I click um no, right? And so let me just show you because I only reinstalled Elden Ring just to get a feel for it. Now that I had the storage, because my laptop has actually a limited amount of storage um, when I bought it. And I'm also lowered the settings for the graphics. I used to have it higher before, but of course it's been a few years. I want to just make sure I have the better performance rather than any frame interruptions. This game, so these are like my characters. I tried to think I the gender ratio like about half. So it's like you go here, here, here. So it's like five males and then five females. And I think for DS3, it's been all males if I'm not mistaken. But like, yeah, it's a little bit different for Elden Ring. This is I'll put in the well, these are just characters that are from 2024. Last time I just I uninstalled Elden Ring because of course like storage and as I said and all that stuff, and then I reinstalled it like just recently, so just to see how it was before, and I realized that I'm just genuinely a different person. I'm just genuinely a different person now than before. Like that much is for certain. Um, but the thing is that I can still see parts of myself in how I created these characters. Um, but when it's weird. It's a weird thing to describe. When I'm looking back at this from a lens, even when I did the SL1 run, which is on my channel, um, for that was for Dark Souls 3. Um, there are different parts of myself that I go back and I'm like, I don't see how this person like this is a very different person compared to who I am now. And so let's just go over so I can keep the video moving. Um frame wise, this is um so the main one I made was Finalis. This is obviously the first one. Um and then I think I have like about 600 or 600 something hours in Elden Ring. But I mostly just re-downloaded to check it back out. I didn't really re-download it to see much else. Okay, and so let me just load into Finale. I'll load into everybody while I'm discussing. So it's gonna be kind of like that video where it's gonna be a long video, just me talking about stuff, but it's gonna also be where I can showcase a bit of the characters as well and get some of my thoughts. So as you can see, Finalis and Samia are the ones that I've done the most with. The other characters that haven't really done like any OC or anything to that degree. Um, so I made him more so to be like a miracle. And I made like two sorcerers I think after that. You can also dual wield these two. Was it this one and this one? Yeah. So just like that. Um, all the miracles are there. Um, but anyway, back to what I was saying. what I found interesting is that I feel like Elden Ring is definitely a game that will be, it's like immortalized at this point. But what I want to point out too is, and again, this is like an improv script that I'm going off of. Um, what I want to point out is that even though Elden Ring is gonna be like immortalized in gaming history, and I only started when I reinstalled this, I was like, because what I was doing back then was I was just running through this game um, like very, very much. And when I was running through the game, it was it was something that I took for granted a little bit of the things. Um, Even though the pre-nerf console read on, I already explained all my stuff there. So if you want to, you can watch that video. It's a little bit old by now, but because like I said, I uninstalled this in 2024, so that's like about 2 years, and a lot of things can happen within 2 years. I am just a completely different person to the person who I am. I still have a little bit of traits from that person back then, and all the other people that I've been. Um, but there's definitely a lot of difference between um, those variations of me over time. If that makes sense. Because the words I have to find, even though I'm very good with words, even though I'm very good with words, and the word for that is logophile, like Logophile. That's a love of words. I I like I just it's very hard for me to describe some of these things because I have to find the right sentence phrasing for it, and I also want to do it in a timely manner, but at the same time, I also want to try to relax. This video, if it goes over an hour, I don't really care. I just have to let all my thoughts out for this journey I've been on from Demon Souls to Elden Ring, Night Rain, I would say, for Souls in particular, after playing all the Souls games. Um, because those are the ones more to compare to. Um, and I only recently just replayed and beat Demon Souls, the original, not I'm the one to play that remake. Um, there's a lot of things to talk about in this video, for real, for real, for real. Okay, but let me just go through some things. Like, for example, this game, and I want to bring this point up like right away. This game is something that I do not see, and I guess the other Souls games could apply to this, but I do not see Generation Alpha, like the younger generation. I do not see them um, playing Elden games like Elden Ring. They might download it or they might thing it for the hype because of course we have for Elden Ring. We do have like the movie coming out, right? So I can definitely see people like after watching the movie and all this hype that Elden Ring is going to be centered around, I can definitely see people saying, "Oh, I want to play the source game for that because I'm into video games or whatever narrative they want to spew there." And they'll download Elden Ring, but they realize that this entire game is, and this is one. Remember, this is one character I have, right? This is basically like my main character. But they will realize that this game has a lot of thing, and they might actually drop the game, or they might play it very slowly to the point where it's like a crawl. Because what people don't realize, and I think we realize it, but we don't focus on it too far outside of the people that are like teachers and stuff that actually deal with this. This younger generation does not care about the traditional values that were implemented by, let's say, for example, Miyazaki, right? They are more into, and that's why he probably didn't direct Night Rain, because his fundamental way of playing is this sort of the fundamental Souls formula. I don't think he could have done it. Night Rain is a game where you play for 45 like minutes per game, 45 minutes, whatever, and you you just run again and again and again as much as you want. That is a game that's more aligned to what this younger generation is going through. This game where I have to do all of this shit and then collect the the churches, and then also go to the DLC and collect the Skidoo fragments, or otherwise the game's gonna be difficult. And I remember there's some drama or just like a meme where FromSoft was literally just saying, "Collect your fucking Skidoo fragments, bro." That was funny, but I don't. Even though this game is a masterpiece, and I downloaded it again, and I said, "Wait, this is kind of hype. This is kind of hype." Because I was back then, I was just playing it, and I didn't realize the importance of it. And I didn't realize that it was that. It's a privilege to be playing this type of game because look at the architect. I'm playing on very low resolution, like on the performance side, right? Because this game, even for PlayStation 5, I can't even imagine for PlayStation 4. But PlayStation 5, this thing is not running at 60 FPS. So the game is optimized. I think it feels a lot better. I don't know if it's just how I lowered the settings a bit, but it feels way better than what I've done before. Like generally, like little to no lag besides player lag between like multiplayer sessions and all that. But in the game itself, it feels very, very optimized. Like compared to maybe they did some optimizations through the updates since I've played from 2024. But I remember when the DLC came out, it's very, very lackluster. But anyway, to the point that I was making about the younger generation, yes, I think the games like Elden Ring and Soul, the Soul formula, I think Elden Ring is their magnum opus. I think there's because I remember even back in the day when, I say back in the day, like if I'm fucking an old man, but whatever. Back in the day, there was when Elden Ring first came out. Of course, I was hyped about it. I was somebody who followed like there's a YouTuber Mordecai. So he would have every day he would do Elden Ring news. If they had no news, he would just still make the video. So I followed him. I followed, I guess, Fatty. I guess I followed everybody. I was basically like a Elden Ring Blazer. But when the game came out with no covenants, well, I was fucking pissed. But and then they gave us the console Radon bullshit, and then they had to actually nerf the fucking thing. But again, a lot of topics I had to talk about, right? But what I'm trying to say is that like this game has been through a lot. Like a lot, a lot, a lot, a lot, a lot. And then when the DLC came out, it was just added, and it's a very good game. Like you could like years later, like 15 years later, 20 years later, this game will still be relevant because you have all this architecture and stuff. However, I'm just wondering with the appeal of the younger generation because the younger generation does not care for they want fast things. They want to if they want AI, they search up whatever, they do it for their projects. Um, you know, they don't I don't think they want to care about all this thing. Like their values aren't really into how beautiful this game might look, how beautiful the world's orchestrated. A lot of them are not like that. They just want to play like games like Fortnite and Apex or whatever the fuck they play, and they just want to do that. And that's just not synonymous with how we older gamers have perceived things. We want like quality over like this time management that they crave. They just want to get their latest hit of dopamine and be done with it. But especially how this game is also a Souls game, that they will be hard. That they if they like go back here where they I think somewhere in this area where it is like the you start here and they like you see the tree sentinel and they might go into the tree sentinel and just die and then they'd be like, what the fuck is this game? And then they'll be pissed. Right, like right here. They'll be pissed and they'll just quit the fucking game. I don't see unless they gut it out like they just say okay, Elden Ring's a really nice game. I see a lot of them just having the mentality to either quit or play the game very slowly that they just forget about it and they're like, oh yeah, Elden Ring's installed in my on my Steam, but I mean, or whatever the platform they use, but I'm just not gonna think. Um, that's how I imagine this would be. But the game will forever be immortalized though, because From Software was the one who basically there was a race for open world, and From Software took everybody by surprise, and it's very funny that that has actually happened. That should be analyzed in one of those fucking video essays that's fucking 25 to fucking 50 minutes. Like, this should be analyzed. What should be analyzed is that how From Software literally like pulled the rug under everybody because they had their formula, they had the Souls formula, and all they had to do was just wrap it in this open world format. Even though there's a lot of criticism of the open world format, like torrent, blah 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 blah, slow and stuff, but this is a game you can relax with if you want to relax with. You can play Elden Ring however you want to. Um, And you can even play it on easy mode, basically, which is just using spirits and going to specific points of the map. Like I remember somewhere in Caelid, there's supposed to be a dragon you kill for like whatever amount of runes, and you just basically level up so much that you just like for Stormveil and shit, you just clear the entire thing because you're over leveled. I remember stuff like that. Definitely, and it probably there's even more probably today. I don't know, like little exploits you can just get for runes and stuff. Um, but the same time, you can play it however you want. It's just your experience. Nobody cares if you played whatever XYZ. Um, I guess they might. The closest thing they might care is if you finished it or not, because then that determines how much your attention span is. All these other things, like if you were able to even finish the damn thing. But yeah, I've finished this multiple times, so it's a different philosophy of gaming. It's like Dark Souls 1, Dark Souls 2, Dark Souls 3, Demon Souls, and then Elden Ring, and then Nightreign. Uh, but more so, it's more so Demon Souls, Dark Souls 1, Dark Souls 2, Dark Souls 3, Elden Ring, then Nightreign, in terms of the Souls game specifically. Bloodborne is somewhere between like closer to DS3, but it's not really. That's more on the Born side of Soulsborne, but I wouldn't consider Bloodborne is a Souls game. Yeah, it's complicated in the wording, but you'd call Bloodborne, and that's why you have Soulsborne. But you'd call Bloodborne a Souls game, but you wouldn't call it you. But it's not within. It's not the name of it is not Souls, and it actually Bloodborne actually plays quite a bit differently from Souls to some degrees. Like certain things you're doing with your inputs and stuff, it plays definitely different from the controller side of things. But there's certainly some sort of fundamentals that thing. The other thing I wanted to mention, yeah, now that I said fundamentals, Night Rain improved my fundamentals of Elden Ring very, very much. Very, very much. Like, and I also love, you know what? I love this thing about this is legend. Esmer's spear, and then the weapon art. I already there's stuff about that on my TV not I think about analysis, but I just love this stuff. This stuff is crazy, and the whole thing goes. There's actually a lot of leeway between the thing. So sorry to shift topic there, but yeah. So I have had a lot like the fundamentals that I gathered from Night Rain have actually boosted like how I handle combat. I think it's how the game is fast paced in Night Rain, where compared to Elden Ring, where you're kind of just because you don't have search sprint in Elden Ring one. You don't have this timer that you basically have to finish the game by, um, two, and it's like there's so many reasons towards it. So this is my one of my mages out of the two, I think. And I have to like there's one mage that I have like the MP kind of low, but I have to level them up. Like that's what I was doing before, like just doing some new game plus stuff. But then I was like because I had to reallocate some of the stats via the reallocation thing, just so that I was going to not to open the menu for each, just so that I could have just so that I could have worn certain equipments and all that stuff. And that's another thing too. Like these things, you have a lot of these things that you're gonna have to manage, but I don't think this other generation is gonna be keen to that. Like this long ass game that they have to play out. Some people, of course, there's exceptions to every rule, right? But yeah, this is just a beautiful game, and I'm not even playing on the. Imagine playing this game like on max settings, quality. Like this is just a beautiful game you can relax with. It reminds me of DS2 DS2 is another game that's just very, very beautiful and you can relax it, but there's a lot of content in DS2. And DS3 is like DS3 is basically like because of course that's the game I have the most prowess with, and as well, like 10 character slots as well there too, as I mentioned. And I actually have for DS3 it would be like 1,000 plus hours, and like somewhere they wouldn't be over 1,500, but it would be like 1,000. And then Elden Ring, like I said, 600. So if you add up the DS3 and Elden Ring, you'd get, of course, basically the 1,600, right? But when you consider the other ones, I don't have as much experience in, but I've definitely beaten them. So like the Demon Souls, Dark Souls 1, Dark Souls 2, um, throughout the DLCs and everything, per se. And yeah, it's just something that I'm just surprised more so about how my fundies changed after playing Nightreign for so long, because of course you had the time span of when Nightreign came out after the DLC. I dropped this game after I said I did all my characters and all that. I was just like, let me just. I don't really have any, like, if I play this game more, I know everything I know all the paths, I know everything. Like it would just be me recompleting everything over and over again, and that's not really fun. So I just dropped the game. I uninstalled it. I said, let me take a break. Maybe I come back, you'll be refreshed. And obviously, that's the case now. I feel a little bit more refreshed, but I still don't feel like I'm gonna play over this and through this game because I know the routes. The routes are probably somewhere in my memory, like just long term memory by now, like just in my brain. But at the same time, I'm just like whatever. Like I'm just maybe I can help some people out in multiplayer, maybe chill her out. Like it's not. I've already accomplished what I've set out to do, and I feel like I might only like get a new character and stuff. Okay, I'm not gonna lead any of these characters. For maybe if I like for PS6 where the frame rate at least could be 60 by then. I hope, because I know the Switch 2, the Tarnished edition is coming out. Like I can definitely feel more the hype of um Elden Ring now that I've taken a break from it and I've just relaxed on being like hardcore about it, like being try hard about it. I can relax and chill about how all these things, like even the SOT weapons that they're not gonna give us in Night Rain because they're selfish or whatever, but they're taking XP time. I can just feel why people had hype towards this game, except for the fact that it didn't give us covenants, which if they had Covenants, I would have been playing Elden Ring to this day. Like Covenants is what kept me towards DS3 because DS3 had a culture, especially on Xbox where I played it, and my old Xbox is actually fried, so that's why I can't like, um, that's why I can't go back and show you like all of the um Xbox. There's still footage of some DS3 videos that I have on here, but it's not all the characters that I had for DS3. So I can't show anything from Xbox until I get a new Xbox or I fix my old one, which is the OG base. And I think it's with the console itself because I checked this like power supply. The power supply is not the problem; it's more like the console itself. It's a bigger issue to fix. But especially where I live, it's not like the states where I just like I go. You have to find somebody reliable to fix it. Um, but either way, yeah, speaking back on fundies, I'm very surprised how my fundies changed after playing Night Rain for 2025 and 2026 with well, the DLC for Night Rain came out I think December or somewhere around that time, 2025. So it's kind of like you can consider the DLC kind of be you can consider the DLC sort of 2026, but not really because it's kind of passing over the year. So it's kind of more 2025 technically. Um, but like late end of 2025. Um, Yeah, I'm just very because I'm more. Of course, I'm used to like these combat things, these combat intricacies, these spacings, and all these things, and everything that I've done. Compared to before. Besides, of course, I may not remember all the boss rule things, but I think some of them are like new to my muscle memory about when to roll. But I would have to like de-rust that. But everything else, like my fundies for, and I love the time of day change for an Elden Ring too. Um, Everything that I've done for Souls has improved for fundies drastically just because of Nightraign's um combat, like endless, like you have to be quick about it and finish in 45 minutes. I've improved a lot of these things. I'm just genuinely surprised by that. Um and yeah, if I have anything else to say about these things, I'll mention it. Like I said, this is a spitball video. It's something that I want to get out there, have it there to reference if anything. Um, but yeah, that console Radon thing, you can see my thoughts about that. But when I after I just beat console Radon, pre nerf, and then they nerfed him like way later, like maybe like 6 months after or something like that. I was just like, after I beat console Radon, which was the most bullshit fight. Like you don't have the thing is, in summary, you can watch the video, but in summary, whatever intuitive nature you had with souls, like every progress that you had from whatever all the other souls games, every souls game, you basically have to scrap that for the console Radon fight. And I'm not sure if they did that on purpose. Now that I'm thinking about it, but the console Radon fight is more less. It's less on your intuition, like how Gale is. Where Gale, you can definitely figure it out. Like you figure it out his patterns and all that stuff. The same thing applies to Radon, but Radon has Radon pre nerf, and that's why they had to nerf him because a lot of people probably weren't gonna beat him. And I watched streamers. It was terrible. Like they just put out this boss like felt rushed because the summary is you can watch the video for my full context of that. If you watch this and I just give you a summary, it's just gonna be a summary. It's not gonna be the full context of of that rant that I did back then. Then I just uninstalled after because I was done with this fucking game. After that, it felt like an insult towards any Souls fan before, and that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Like this console Rodan thing felt genuinely insulting. It felt genuinely insulting because compared to Gale, which was the last DLC boss in DS3, for example, it did not feel as though they were wanting people to to play this like if they knew Souls all the way back then. They wanted people to play this like strictly towards whatever console Rodan's moves were, and there was even a problem with the medium roll and the heavy. And I was the first one to ever make a video of the medium roll because every other video I think was light rolling. Genuinely, you can just look at all this history towards Contra Rodon. If you don't believe me, it's all on my channel, and see what madness FromSoft was cooking. Every other boss in the DLC is fine. That's the strange part about it. That's the very strange part about it. Every other boss in Elden Ring's DLC was totally fine, even the base game and as well. But that one fight, it's like they wanted like okay, so the Elden Ring philosophy, especially, is to have freedom of what you're doing, right? So of course you can't just go in and fight and just think you like you can be overconfident, but you may not succeed as well. But that's not the point I'm trying to make. The point I was trying to make back then in that video is that they made this console Radon fight so like you have to follow. It's like you follow this one trick strategies and all these other things, or you lose. And that goes against the entire philosophy of Soul because you're making your builds. Um, and that's why I don't like Everdark already because you have to drop basically almost everything besides the effects that you have, and just go on this gimmick. The point of Souls, and especially Elden Ring, because Elden Ring is you have all the creative. You can use your horse to go wherever. In DS3, you follow that path, and you can basically just speed run the game. DS3 is the funniest game just ever like run through because all you have to do is just kill every single boss, go back again, and repeat. That's why I did 1,000 hours, etc. But it's just so easy to finish DS3 over and over again, just get to different new games. It was so funny.
to just get like this new game plus 7, all these other things. It was or new game plus 9 and all these other things. Because I think there's only slight difference between new game plus 7 and new game plus 9 and ongoing and so on. Because the difficulty, of course, caps after a while, but caps to some degree. Console Redown was just something they wanted you to just do it the way they wanted you, and if you don't do it like that, well, goodbye, your character's dead, and that's not a way to approach a fight at all, especially the last send off of your magnum opus of Elden Ring. So I mean, I'm glad they nerfed it, but then that just feels like an insult to the players. Like, release the why didn't you release the product finalized? Why did you have to take the criticism that you might have been having, whatever reasons you made to nerf it in the first place? Why did you have to have that happen first? Why do you have to have that happen first and then nerf it? Because they could get FromSoft on all these other game companies, they can get away with that now because you have this thing where anything that's bad, you just pull out a patch and thing. But if you were to do all that shit back in the day where you just have a disc and you don't have all these updates, yeah, good luck with that. Good luck with that. It's made a lot of these companies very complacent where, oh, if we don't get it the first time, we'll just patch it out. That's like saying, like, if I'm writing something as a creative, I have writing art and music. But if I'm writing something, I'm just gonna edit it out. Like what? Like after publishing, that's so weird. It's so crazy to me that we allow these things. Like it's something that people do make errors, but don't just put out a product that feels unfinished and then just go back and say, oh well, we were wrong. Let's nerf this character a little bit. And Radon had that twice. That's so ironic that he had it twice within the regular Radon, and like the 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 consort shit. Like, and that fight just felt. And there's even like cut scenes of like Mikola, I believe, that people are data mining and stuff like why put out this unfinished product for your magnum opus? Why not save it some more time? Although at the time, of course, it's a little bit hypocritical of me to say that because I was very hasty about getting this Elden Ring DLC. I even like I don't drink alcohol anymore and all this stuff, but I literally just went out to get some fucking beers and just drank as soon as like the DLC came out. I was just drinking and I was like just chilling. Like back then, that was very fun. But just like just like alcohol is not for me anymore. That shit is poison. But yeah, I prefer other things to keep me not sober. Um, but back to the topic. Yeah, that concept Bazan thing is it's another character. So basically, if you're seeing like a trend with my characters, a lot of them are like. And the thing is with Elden Ring is that I think I forgot to mention this because there's a lot of things circulating around my head while I'm talking about this. Um, when Elden Ring first came out, there was a lot of things that that's why I was saying back in the day. There was a lot of things like when I compared to like DS3 and the other Souls games, this game in the base game, by the way, it had so much weapon versatility and just like DS2 has a lot of cool weapons as well, and like just the variety too, the variety as well, which is so fascinating to me, as well as the spells, and it felt like who made these spells and these things, like they were just the most creative people. Like the spells and miracles in this game are just fascinating to me. They're just fascinating to me because of course those people who make like these like the compilations of all these spells and miracles, you can see every single one. I watched those types of videos and it was just fascinating to me. And of course we have the Ashes of War variety as well, but we started now. You can mix and match anyone you want. The customization is there, which is again why the console Radon fight felt very stupid and antithetical to me that they would have that. They would just have it like they would have it so to a T pre-nerf again pre-nerf that they had to nerf it and make it a little bit more accessible to everybody. Um, but yeah, this variety in this game is crazy, and that's why I said like if I get like a PS6 or something later down the line, I think I'm gonna definitely play it there instead of having to worry about FPS by then. I hope not it will be optimized enough to be 60. I'm worried about that tarnished edition, but I don't really care because I'm not gonna be playing on that fucking thing. Switch 2 is a fucking microwave compared to a PS5, bro. Like, come on now. Anyway, y'all can do whatever you want. It's y'all's money and shit. I don't really care about that. I just find it funny how that's the hype now with the tarnished edition compared to just putting your effort into the game that might actually save you in the long run. Because if Nightreign for the attention span thing, Nightreign might be y'all's later success. I just think maybe Nightreign came out a bit too early. I'm not sure. I'm not sure about that. Again, we're rushing these games out to fit company quotas and all these other things, and it's like okay, but it's just that like you just the philosophy of just having to let's rush this out and then add in like different patches and all this after the fact. It's very very sad, but it is what it is. Let me go on to my next. But you can see like I just wanted a lot of the versatility, so I picked up of course every weapon that I sort of could synergize. Also the Ash of Wars, and I picked those, and I said, well, let me just go into this and say let me just go into it and say, well, have all these builds with the variety and do what I like. Pick the weapons that I like and try to make them fit on the character, but also use all my knowledge of leveling up in Souls before to work it. And I did mention about that mage. Well, the FP is low, but I have to come back to like play because once you just here's the thing, right? Once you just um utilize your stuff. Like you can have a mage character with low FP, you just have to utilize it properly. Um, and that's what the thing Nightreign taught me to utilize like everything I have because you're getting random stuff sometimes in Nightreign. Sometimes you may not get things that are equipped to your character's thing, but you can use them, and you don't have the weapon. Sorry, not weapon. The weight class thing to thing you down with your rolling. That's a tool. That's a very good thing about Nightreign. It sort of skips all these things, and you're just in for the combat and the strategy. This is one of my favorite characters, by the way, besides Finalis and Semia. Um, but yeah, my mage FP is low for now, but I will when I if I were to play this game over, like just go back and play more in the new game pluses and all that, I would, which I have been, but I took a break when I uninstalled 2024. Um, I will just add just simply add the stat to the mind or whatever, and then just get more. It's as simple as that. But yeah, this is one of my favorite characters. This is one of my favorite weapons to sort of lance. This jump R2. One of these weapons in Night Raid. This jump R1 feels fucking criminal. This thing feels fast compared to the jump R2. Look how slow this is compared to this. This is insanity to bosses, especially because the jumping was already like a DI jump instead is crazy. But compared to like this is just insane. The move set of this is definitely a favorite, and I have it on another character too. The same sword lance. This is a DLC weapon. Um, I just feel so bad that we don't have the SOT weapons in Nightreign because that will save it. That will save it for sure. I would be playing Nightreign non-stop if they just had the SOT weapons. There's such a variety of the weapons, and I only even realize that more so now too when reinstalling that they left us with a lot of versatility and variety for weapons. It's fascinating. Um, yeah, I love this. I love this. Like just a bleed character basically. Elden Ring, we have history. We have like I did. Not all the endings, but I did the endings that mattered, like Lord of Frenzy Flame. I think I did the Default. I did the Rani's one as well. So somewhere there, I have I think either that or I traded away the like greatsword. Um, beating that one, the Rani one. This is the Frenzy Flame one, I think. The character. And again, I instead of if you want to just see the clips of some of these characters, me playing them, you can just go to the console without Ran. You don't even have to listen to Ran. Just like mute the video if you don't want to listen to the Ran itself. But I have like the clips of the characters that I've utilized. Some of them do, and a lot of them, if you notice, if you're keeping up with the intricacies of this of the builds I've made, a lot of them do have a dual wielding capacity. Because of course they took the inspiration from the DS2 dual wielding, which because of course they didn't have any dual wielding like that um, for DS3. You could do it, but it wouldn't get the power stance. That's what I should say. You wouldn't get the power stance thing that you have when you do the L1. So that's basically the main difference. Um, and yeah, they took inspiration for that for DS2 for Elden Ring. Elden Ring feels like a combination between everything they work for, and that's why it feels like the magnum opus. Um, you can see different bits of their philosophy, but it's also more of an epic, which is why they probably went for JRM like George Martin, to get that sort of feel, and it definitely captures that. But it doesn't feel like Dark Souls, and I say that not in terms of like the feel of the world, I should say, doesn't feel like Dark Souls. The controls, of course, feel like it. The gameplay feels like Souls, but the world itself definitely feels different. I think this is also one of these places where there was a little bit of like lack of optimization, definitely because I think when I used to ride on the horse and I used to go in a certain spots, it wasn't just me. Like it was more so I was getting like lag in some of these less optimized areas, and of course my laptop has aged back since then. But at the same time, it was back then it was still a bit off. I still think I feel like I'm getting like a few spikes in this area, but like I said, if the PS5 isn't even pulling 60 on this, I mean, it's whatever, right? Um, so the thing of Elden Ring is just feels so good, but at the same there's a but there's always a but to these things. At the same time, it feels as though it's a dying like I said in the first point I was making, it feels like a dying type of genre towards the newer generation. So of course, the thing about generations is that you can say like, "Oh, I don't care, whatever, whatever," but the thing is, even after you're gone, um, whatever happens in the afterlife happens in the afterlife. But even after you're gone, it's that what to believe is that the time continues without you. So it's a matter of it's not you have to always look at these things from a greater perspective, like a broader perspective. A lot of people just look at things from a surface value perspective where they're like or surface level I should say, where they are looking towards the things that matter to them. But they're not thinking about because why would they think outside of the box towards things that are not um the things that are long term? That's not their business. They might be busy with other things, but you have to if you stay in that perspective, that bubble, you will not get a variety of how you have to think. You will not expand your thought horizons um, towards these other things because Miyazaki might be very close to retiring too. Because I think he did the direct Dust Bugs, which is the um, up and coming for Souls, right? But at the same time, It's like it's just this is a dying type of exploration, this exploration, heavy exploration type game. It's it's a dying it's a dying type of game. It's a dying type. It's just dying. They're not gonna. It's not gonna survive if the attention span keeps going down for the average person at least. Because if you want your instant gratification, then this is definitely not an instant gratification game. You have to get all these flags. You have to get the map. You have to figure out. Sometimes you may need a guide. If you get lost, you might. You understand what I'm trying to say? Like, this is not a game. Maybe the first playthrough, and if you just finish your first play. But even on the first playthrough, like I'm a type of person that I want to get multiple characters in, like max out all the damn character slots and everything. But for the platform, but at the same time, like this is not a game where you like they're gonna drop it or they're gonna go through it so slowly that it's like a snail's pace. Anyway, but yeah, if you're just thinking about yourself, I think personally you have to broaden your horizon to think about everything around you as well, because that's how you get different perspectives. That's how you get different perspectives with regards to thinking, oh well, how will the future pan out? With regards to that. And but you can still think about will it affect me or will it not affect me, and use that as your indicator to prioritize. This is my other major thing of the ODFP. I reallocated it to be for the time being, but I have to just get more runes and level up from there. Um, yeah, if you just stay inside this bubble of perspective, you aren't really gonna get much thought. You aren't really getting get much thought. You have to think about these things more. It's not really. I'm not giving advice or anything. It's just a matter of how I view things, and I think it's just an objective fact that if you just stay within this like tunnel vision, you really aren't gonna get much out of that. Um, Again, you can see like how I said where I picked a lot of weapons that I liked. I try to maximize everything, like have all things, and that's why I had to have the endurance too, because some people just put like you know like just one weapon or maybe two weapons per character and just go with that. You can do that as well, but you also have to worry about, the because you have to worry about the armor as well, and you have to worry about the weight class. You don't want to be fat rolling. None of my characters I've ever made have been in the fat roll just because I've been able to, since DS3, optimize towards having the regular roll, like medium loads for a regular roll. Because that roll is definitely you either have a shield or you know how to roll. Those are your two things, and that's another thing I want to mention too. The combat with souls might be something that they have to phase out, and I hope the Dustbloods, when because they have a network test coming up as I'm recording this, I hope that they um, fix upon that because I think Souls combat just being up to rolling and spacing. Spacing is a small thing too, but you still have to like roll for a lot of it. There are like no roll challenges, of course, but that's just a very niche thing. Like it's not something that your general audience would do. That's the problem about it. Um, but having just to roll and to shield, you can even shield with some of these weapons, but you have to worry about the guard that it has. But if you have like a regular shield, it's fine. I have a character with a shield that I'll showcase that has 100 negation there. I'll showcase him a bit. He's literally at the end, and his name is literally End. But um, yeah, the Souls combat I think is very. It's too little for the thing, and I think they just had to do that because they had the DS3 system. Because Elden Ring is very based off of the DS3 system. I'm very glad that I started off with DS3 as my first Souls game, and then I went on to later on to DS1 and DS2. I think respectively. I can't remember the exact order I did it after the DS3, but I know DS3 is my first game, and
has ever been my first love of Souls. Um, just having because Elden Ring is very based off of that system compared to DS1 and DS2. They took some stuff from DS2, like I said, like the power stancing, but it's definitely more a DS3 system. Besides the jumping, of course, was added in later on too, but separate. Um, you definitely do feel that sort of limitation if you think about it, where you are either forced to either roll or shield, sorry, or shield with whatever shielding implementation you have against things. And there's also spacing in between, but it's mostly just for avoiding getting hit. It's mostly just you know, rolling and shielding. And I love the song. I love the magic that played from this again. Elden Ring is a very like look at they put a lot of implementation into the um you know, like you have even have your symbols when you cast spells to showcase their lore. You know, it's a very FromSoft just beat everybody. That needs a video essay. That needs a video where you see how FromSoft just beat the fucking not from me. I'm not doing that shit. Um, but I could, but I don't want to. I don't care enough to do it. But FromSoft basically beat everybody to the thing just because they had their formula first. And then Breath of the Wild, of course, came. I don't remember if Breath of the Wild came before or after Elden Ring. I think it definitely came before. It definitely came before. But FromSoft still had a better foundation and everything compared to Breath of the Wild. I would say Breath of the Wild is definitely more Nintendo thing, but you know, Elden Ring is more, of course, all platforms. You know, and the thing is, it's not just that the platforms running it; it's more also a philosophy between how these companies view their product. Because you can definitely feel a difference between if you played Breath of the Wild and if you played Elden Ring, for example. Everything is very life is very detailed. It's very there's beauty in the detail for life, everything, especially the nuances. Nuances are what I love quite a bit. Like I'm not really a fan towards life in general, but I think that the nuances in life are definitely something that work pretty well. Not just as Ethiopia, or like as the sea, if you can see how that like looks. So she, like just here, I recently beat the wrong thing here, like the before Malakat where you have to fight him again. But like when I was doing that little fight, I realized definitely how, like I was saying, the spacing and everything, my entire fundamentals have improved. Have improved from Nightreign. It's so crazy to me. I play like way more confidently than I used to because back then all I used to do is like you know I used to do a lot of things, but it was mostly just learning the boss mechanics and like trial and error. But my fundamentals now have just skyrocketed. It just feels so great to even play like even though I don't have like the surge sprint of pressing pressing forward and running really fast like Night Rain, which is really overpowered because you get to dodge a lot of stuff that way. I still feel a lot more comfortable with just the entire Souls movement system. And even if I went to DS1, DS2, which it feels a bit slower, and DS2, people say it's more janky. Um, I still feel way more comfortable now. It's crazy that Night Rain actually boosted my fundamentals. But it makes sense though because, like I've been saying, you have to rush in Night Rain. It's a lot more combat oriented. In Elden Ring, and you do have the combat for it, but it's a lot more. You roam around first, and then you do the combat. But Night Rain, it's more like you roam little and then you combat more. You know. So yeah, this is like just big bonk lady, if that makes sense. Um, and the thing is that
there was some like you can see with the helm that gives you like extra stats. So that's why I have it on multiple characters. Not that I got bored of the creative process. That helm is like one of those things that they want you to buy the DLC for. So like those the actually had it too. I think like one of those I think ring of favor, like you have different rings that give you like the +2 or whatever variant they can only get from the DLC and like sometimes the new games and stuff, like New Game Plus. Um, yeah, those existed. Those existed. Most certainly. And for Nightreign, I mean, sorry, for Elden Ring is definitely still there with regards to that helm where you where you have it. I like this character too. Um, she's meant to just be like a destined dead character. Um, but yeah, that helm is definitely a DLC staple. But it looks so funny on the character selection screen if you saw it there. Um, and I like this weapon a lot too. This is why I want all of this in Nightreign. Like the weapons here, especially also from the camera perspective, because the camera perspective from Nightreign is definitely different too. But the weapons here feel so nice. Like the game just feels so perfect, and that's again why the concept we're on. Why did you have that pre-nerf? Everything else in Night and Elden Ring feels so flawless. It feels so flawless. Like not Nightreign. I said Nightreign by accident there, but Elden Ring feels so flawless now that I'm looking back at it. It just feels like a dream almost, you know. But besides that wording, which is a little bit more intricate, um, yeah, it just feels so nice. I think what I have to do afterwards, before when I finish with this part, I have to do it over again because I also want to show, I guess, the character face because I did use the customization to make their faces different. But of course, the only sad part is that I'm using it on the lower settings rather than what I used to have, which is the settings at least at medium, so that the character faces don't look too botched. But there's another thing too. Elden Ring's facial features for when you have it on like max settings were really nice. This is the character that I beat Concert on. She has I was mostly just using this though. I took off all the other weapons during that fight and I was just using uh these I think. You had to put your all into that fight and it was also just like I said, it was just like they wanted you to just do it the way they wanted back before the pre-nerf. And then the nerf was when they gave people more flexibility to fight and more room to make errors. But back then, it was just terrible. I'm telling you, I literally watched streamers struggle their hardest with this fucking fight because it was so. And it had jank in phase one too. Where he did this cross move back in the pre nerf, where he crossed his weapons together, and you're like, how is this hitting me? Like, he eventually gets to the thing, but even when you figure out the rule patterns for that, you're like, how the fuck is this hitting me? But again, if you want to see that, just look up the console round video that I made, and all of that information will be there. Because it's me going off of memory, talking about this and summarizing. It's not something that's a good representation of what we viewed it back then. You have to just look at how me in the past, which is why I say I had past iterations of myself, like everybody does. Different. Some people don't change. Some people do change. I'm a person that changes very differently throughout the years, but I still keep a lot of the fundamentals about me. But there's definitely some philosophies and other things, other ways that I view life that change with me over the years. That's just one thing about me. Right. This is End, and very ironically, is also the end, and he's the last character that I made very poetic, right? So this is the character that you wouldn't want to have a shield on because here's the thing too. Back before Nightreign, like I used to have a shield on Finalis before the DLC came out, but then I saw so many weapons, really cool weapons on things. So I just ended up giving Finalis like weapons that can shield. Surprisingly, the Blasphemous Blade has more physical negation than the Golden Halberd. Surprisingly, and another thing too is that I'm surprised that the Golden Halberd doesn't really have Golden Vow in Nightreign, which is very strange to me. Like even though the Ashes of Wars is sometimes randomized and all that stuff, but it feels or just like you have more variety, I should say. Sometimes it's randomized though, um, depending on the weapon. Sometimes it's not like you rather stay with the rather slash. Um, I still feel very weird about that. Like, and I never really used to use shields before Guardian. Before I was very much in the philosophy. This is again, I say I changed quite often. I changed quite often. The philosophy that I had with Souls before is just shields are boring and slow. Let me just use the rule. So I was originally just like an elitist with regards to the rule. Like I didn't care about. I used to look down upon shield users, and that's how ironic life can be. That is how poetic and how ironic life can be. I used to look down on shield users. Now I just love using shield to mitigate error. I just love that now. This is the other character with the Bloodlands, or like Bloodlands, I should say. Yeah. So and this does a lot of the. I'm not sure if they nerfed it since, but back then when they first this did a lot. It used to be ridiculous. It used to be bleeding things and players at the same time very quick. Um, I've been more a PvE person, but I've also been a PvP person. It's just that for Xbox, I don't think I've uploaded that much on this channel. That I've been more. I have Spear of the Church footage that I've done where you play as a boss. Um, but I don't think I've uploaded like Fight Clubs for Xbox on from DS3. Although I think I have it, used to have it on my Xbox. And there was one time where there's a sad thing where my Xbox footage got deleted. Like I think I had too much GTA 5 footage back then, and I think it mixed with my DS3, and I got a lot of footage deleted. But other than that, I think that in general, like I don't think I uploaded much of the PvP footage, but I trust me, believe me, that Covenants again, like I said, Covenants that were missing from this game for whatever fucking reason. Right where you see that rune slot there on the far left is where the Covenant slot was. If you don't know what Covenants are, look them up. If you've only played Elden Ring, sorry, but you missed out on Covenants, which is like one of the best parts. The best parts in regards to Souls. Like Covenants were Dark Souls 1, Dark Souls 2, Dark Souls 3, they were great. Like, of course, they still exist today, but of course, people are more on Elden Ring rather than the old. People moved on from a lot of the things, so you'd have a lot of dwindling numbers in regards to those games. But there's still some people who are going to play those. Uh, but you just have a lot less multiplayer compared to what it was back then. So you kind of missed out on that era, but you can still probably visit it. The sooner the better you visit it, because the more FromSoft releases all the other things, their player base is going to be divided, like Dustbloods, for example, etc. So, like, and all these other products they might be thinking about that there might be closely resembling Souls, if anything. Um, Look how beautiful this sunset is, bro. It's crazy. Anyway, sorry, Altus Plateau, right? Or however you say it. I forgot how. It's been so long, but like 2 years, bro. But it's Altus, I think. Yeah. Okay, so this is also one of the more beautiful things. On the internet, there are things that I have put for Finalis and Stemia that give more information with regards to how I perceive them as OCs. But besides that, like I said, the other characters I didn't really do much with that. It was more so to build them and have them as characters to use rather than to have them as like storytelling or whatever else people do with OCs. Um, but yeah, let me just. I think I'll just do it backwards.
fruits. So let me just take off like covenants were definitely something that nine rigor is crazy. Covenants were definitely something that um I think I reallocated the vigor here rather than just level it up one by one or whenever I got runes. How do I choose again to what do we do to the character? I think it is status. Swap screen. There we go. Okay, so now I'll just showcase all of the but yeah, you had to be there for Covenants, man. Like Covenants in its peak. You had fight clubs, you had people especially in the issue you had people at Anarlondo just fucking it was so great. And even on Xbox, which is like compared to PlayStation, Xbox isn't really much of a Soulsy platform. There is the games released there, but it isn't much as the community towards it compared to PlayStation. You know, for PlayStation 2 start PlayStation X they started Demon Souls with PlayStation. Demon Souls was an exclusive, so you know there's more history with Souls that with Sony than there is with Xbox, especially with Bloodborne 2 also being exclusive. Um, but yeah, so this is like I'm gonna show the faces even though they would have more quality, you know. If I would up that, I'm gonna just show the faces too. I could have opted for the video, but I'm like whatever, like it is what it is, you know. Like, I don't care too much about that. Just something that I'm doing extra while talking about my retrospective remakes. Elden Ring. Oh, Nightreign. The Nightreign retrospective is basically I want my DLC weapons. I want my DLC weapons, and then I'll re-download your game, and it'll be hunky dory. But I don't think they're gonna. I think they if they're gonna release DLC weapons, they want to put a second DLC in. I don't think they want to just give it out for free, and I think that's the problem. They could have given it out for free by now. I'm pretty sure people who mod the games probably have um, implemented some form of DLC weapons, you know, but maybe not with all of them, but maybe with some of them. It doesn't seem like a hard translation for From Software staff, but their staff is involved with Duskbloods, and it doesn't seem like they're focusing on Nightbreed right now, which is very sad. But that's the timeline we live in. Off screen. I have to get used to that. I have to get used to that back again. Also, I think for some reason, I think the eye color is a bit weird because I think there is a glitch or something where I did have there was some sort of weird thing where I remember I selected my character's eye colors and stuff, right? But for some strange reason, it used to reset. And I think I had to go to the mirrors or whatever to get them, you know, back to the way they were before. I think some people like Pernia would stay, like how she has like two eye colors. What do you call it? Like I think you call that heterochromia, right? I think. Um he has that, but I think some of the other ones were reset. Like I don't think that was Semia's original eye color, for example. But like I guess it's whatever, like um, you know, it is what it is. But at least I'm getting the facial features for them to showcase as well, so that all of this is documented and well preserved in video format. I don't really think there's anything else to say about the state of Elden Ring and by extension Night. I think there's definitely some sadness to go with Nightreign that they're kind of neglecting the game that um, might actually shoot them in the foot because, like I said, I don't think this younger generation is going to care much for all this exploration nonsense that the older um, the older people like Miyazaki have worked thoroughly to have for the fundamentals of Souls.
But yeah, I really don't. It's a shift of the guard, is what they like to say. I think just a shift of the philosophies that and that's why Miyazaki more than likely didn't um wasn't selected to direct Nightreign because he is more focused on the old way of gaming. That's like I said, I predict is going to die out. I predict is going to die out if unless there's a sudden shift in the attention spans of people, like in general, and again the younger generation. I don't think that this type of game is gonna be popular. It's already out, so it's not going anywhere. But I don't think the young generation are gonna care too much about it if the attention span keeps dropping worldwide. Let's see. And I love the Tanit outfit. That's why I wanted to have her have it. The Tanit outfit is really nice. I really like the Volcano Manor things in general. It's just that I wish it was a full-fledged covenant, but all we had was just plot bits. Instead of having your magnum opus have covenants, you just decide, oh well, let's not include that. Let's rush out so that it's okay. It's okay. They could have had a separate box or something for the covenants. It's not like you only had one box with for the grave rooms to showcase. You could have had like a smaller box or something for the covenant icon. And maybe like UI is easy to fix like that. But the fact you just release this game without covenants is like again why I dropped it because I had the reason I had 1,000 hours in DSU was not just because of I played it a lot, which is what I did, but it's not just because of that. It's because I also enjoy the multiplayer aspect of playing with other people, having fight clubs, and also you can have fight clubs here, but it's just not it's not the same as having the covenants represent a character and represent you playing the character. So and the covenants were great. If you don't believe me that the covenants were great, like look up covenants on YouTube or whatever, and or if you were there, you know already what I'm talking about. But the covenants were just great, and I don't see why they dropped it. I don't see in your biggest game ever, you just decide to drop it and never put it in at all. In the DLC, you don't even put it in. So you had two. You had sorry, yeah, you had two chances. You had chance of first doing the game. It's glitching, bro. I don't support animal violence. I just did that to put him on his misery. But yeah, he'll spawn back. Don't worry, don't worry, don't worry. But yeah, this very character for frenzied flames. um, I don't know. I don't know why. I don't know why. I'm just at a loss for words. I'm at a loss for words in regards to that. But the architecture in this game is something that needs to be um, looked at if you haven't already. Elden Ring has by far the most beautiful architecture and architectural detail and lore detail combined with that. It's just insanity. This game feels like it was made outside of this world. Like basically, not necessarily like an alien invention per se, but it feels like because Elden Ring it didn't come out of all of the blue because of course I said they had fundamentals before. But there's certain games that are just so good that it makes me feel like if they were like they used some kind of like hidden technology or something. Elden Ring is one of them. I think Elden Ring is the one with the one of the most like that. But there's also some good games, like Pokemon Black and White and Black and White 2 by extension that just they make me feel like they're at the peak of what their games were trying to represent. And what happens too is that I keep like in life. I've said this before, um, and other posts as well. There's always like a declination. So I think FromSoft is a peak of their existence right now for sure. Especially with the movie coming out and everything for Elden Ring. Like it's undeniable that they're at a peak. But the saying goes that every empire has to crumble, every empire ends. And FromSoft, even though they've stuck with their fundamentals that have kept them and their traditional values towards gaming for the most part, even though they've stuck with that, what will happen when the old guard like Miyazaki and stuff retire, which is inevitably going to happen, and all these other things? They're going to be replaced with people who may not carry the same values as that. They may be more money grubbing, and that's actually what's happening, I think, with Nintendo right now, where this is a bit tangent to go into Nintendo here, but even though Dust Plus is coming out for a Nintendo Legends exclusive, um, but Reggie is gone from Nintendo America, and I feel like a lot of them that are there now in Nintendo are definitely more of a capitalistic worldview, um, which is fine because I mean not fine, but it's we have capitalism today. Capitalism is the worldview that is expressed more so today than ever, um, like almost like late stage capitalism. But it just feels like practically like late stage capitalism. It's just when from stuff will have to decline eventually. It's not it's something that's inevitable to happen with just like everybody's health will eventually deteriorate when they get older and eventually die. It happens to companies as well. It happens to everything. Everything will decline, have a peak, and then decline. Um, and then that's if what happens too is that, and then this is all cause and effect. I did a fate video that I showcased this. What happens is that it goes to a climax, which is the peak, and then afterwards it set things eventually simmer down, and then eventually, if there's enough energy to carry it, then what will happen is that it will climax again and then go back, climax again, go back, peak. Like that, it's just a cycle of that basically. I think I just yeah. But I hope you understand the point of all this yap I've been talking, because I feel like I hope that a lot of my yap isn't wasted on minds or anything. Like I'm not saying that you have to follow everything I say or whatever. That's definitely not my point of. Is just my point of view is to just get my point of view out and like have it there so that you can internalize it, or if you don't want to, or you can even object to. That's perfectly fine. Between internalizing and or just like accepting and objecting, they're basically like opposites in that sense. Accepting it or objecting towards it, that's fine as long as you progress. Because objecting is perfectly fine. It's just another side. It's another flip of the coin. On duality, it's something that you know. Objecting leads to progress as well. It's just that some people view objecting negative, and then they're very sensitive about it. That they see the progress in regards to it. Which is fine because negative feelings people don't really want to feel negative, but at the same time, negative feelings do drive um, people as well. And as I think negative feelings actually drive people more than the positive feelings, and you can see that throughout certain people's, even certain artists, writers, and even musicians. You can see that throughout their work. Some of their best work is within when they were at their lowest, and yeah, that's just how it is. But everything I say should be taken with a grain of salt. So she doesn't have any, um, doesn't need to hide the helm, but you know, her face is pretty visible. The other ones, I had to make them not visible because, of course, a lot of the equipment in this game, especially even in this area, I think the mask that she has on is mostly because I think it boosts faith or something. There's a lot of stat boosting equipment that you want to put on because you get the stat boost and it helps with your build because overall with Elden Ring with regards instead of Nightreign, it's more so you prioritize your build. We come back all the way to Finalis, which I'll just show you see his face, but the helm. Obviously the helm for him as well. I think that'll be all I have to say about this video. I don't want to keep it too long, but I know it was very long. I had a lot of stuff to say. Whatever the situation is with From Software for the future, is what it is. Like life will go on. Life will go on regardless of anything. If From Software fails, if From Software continues to succeed, but they have to be careful of their inevitable declination. They have to be careful of that. But by that time, Miyazaki's probably retired. He doesn't give a fuck. He might give a little bit of a fuck, but he may not give too much of a fuck because he's retired. He did his part, and he did his part very well because all you have to do, if you don't like the direction of future From Software is taking, all you have to do is just play the older games like Elden Ring, which is again their magnum opus as far as I'm aware, and you you do that. I still think that Dark Souls 3 has a lot better aspects than Elden Ring. I think like there are certain parts of Souls that have beaten like Dark Souls that have beaten Elden Ring. Demon Souls, I think beats um I think Demon Souls beats a lot of the other Souls games in everything but like locations. I feel like the locations for Demon Souls, in terms of the map itself, like how they structured the areas, um, I think they went out of their way to be very, very malicious. Like the swamp there, the poison swamp, this trope of Miyazaki's. Um, the poison swamp in that area for the original at least, because I played the original, I'm not playing that remake shit. Um, or at least if I play it, it might be way later. But I don't think I really don't like these shitty remakes that they keep pumping out for money. Anyway, I like the original how it's put. Even though I say that, but it's probably like more suffering in the original. I I want to get that thing because Miyazaki made this where you feel like you're suffering in that fucking swamp, bro. That swamp, even though there's light to like guide you, and I watched the. You see, I watch all these things. Like I watched the video talking about an interview where Miyazaki said that even though he's very bad at gaming, he's self-proclaimed bad at gaming. Um, he also says that he made Demon Souls back then so that even he can beat Demon Souls. But Demon Souls to me has a better story than Dark Souls 1, 2, 3, and Elden. I think it's in contention with Dark Souls 3, but I still think it has. Demon Souls just feels like something entirely different. If you haven't played the Demon Souls original, um, like YOLO is a philosophy. Like just try to get that. There's a lot of suffering in place for you with regards to the locations, I'm sure. And again, another thing is I keep saying this type of game is gonna die out with the I'm sorry, the younger generation. It's gonna stay with the older generation, but I don't think it's gonna stick well with the younger generation, as I keep saying. But I think you should definitely try Demon's Souls original. I think it's as long as you. Here's the thing, right? I'll just leave this with one last note. As long as you play your cards right and you stick with this creativity, your inner creativity with regards to these characters, I think you will succeed. Like these games are really just a medium. They are just an outlet towards creativity, and especially with regards to still where you can make your own build, yada yada yada. Even with Night Rain, because you are still picking parts of your build and you're picking parts that you don't want and which parts that you want, and ultimately you end up with a product there. I think that's very cool. But if you just stick to your gut and you say, well, this is how I'm gonna do it, then you will be fine. You'll be fine. You will like enjoy the game. If you just stick to like, if you're just instead, but there are some people like that. But I mean, I don't think you get much value out of life like that. Like imagine you will be somebody that just decides to pick the most optimal build from YouTube, whatever YouTube recommends to you, and you're like, oh, let me copy this exact thing wholesale. Like, I don't think life was made for that. I think life was made to just go through experiences with how you will um, go through it rather than just follow what people are doing. Go with your own way rather than what people tell you what to do per se. And I think you will reach a level of self-awareness that is unparalleled. And I think you will have more fun too because you'll discover aspects of yourself that are um you'll discover aspects of yourself that are just different. You'll discover things that you never knew about yourself. And I think that's the thing that you stick to with gaming, you stick to with any other creative task, writing, music, art, anything that you, even like, like making like clay and shit, like just molding clay, um, anything creative that you're doing. I think just stick to who you are rather than stick to some, I guess you could call it maybe like rudimentary or like way of how people say this is the best build. Follow this build and you'll succeed. XYZ. No, you can succeed without following that. I mean, guides are always fine, but what will you get if you just stick to something and you won't get much? You just be following like you'd be like a sheep. You'd be following the herd, and it's fine. It's very comfortable to be a sheep, but I don't think it's always the most successful thing to do. And I think that's where I'll end the video. I hope you've enjoyed it, and I will see you maybe in the next video. Who knows? We'll see. Bye bye.